We, of course, are going to be talking a little bit about Saturday night's main event and the John Cena retirement tour and your favorite John Cena memories and all of that today. So join the conversation in the comments with us here. But this is unusual, that you see someone have a farewell tour like this in pro wrestling, but it's hard to argue with the success, Eric. It seems like it's certainly worked. This is the most profitable year in WWE history. They're setting gate records everywhere. They're setting merchandise records everywhere, just record revenues all across the board. And you got to assume, of course, you and I were not in the room. We don't know, but we have to assume, I think, that they probably sold this new deal to Peacock. And a big piece of this deal is you're going to get John Cena's last match. And I know that there's a lot of television rights discussions about, multi-year contracts, and we're going to go live every week and all that sort of thing. But in an era where I think everyone is familiar with the word WrestleMania, and maybe to a lesser degree, some people have heard of SummerSlam and things like that. I think if you were to just call it John Cena's last match, it feels like from a bidding standpoint, from an interest standpoint, it might be second only to WrestleMania for the year. I'm talking about to the mainstream from an SEO standpoint. Would you agree with that?
I would agree with that without a doubt. And I mean, it just speaks to the power of John's career and the equity he has, the value in the equity that he has with the audience. And it would be, because here's from a programmer's point of view. Now, listen, I'm going to be the first to admit, programming for streaming is probably the philosophy behind it is probably somewhat different than commercial television, because it's the customer acquisition part of streaming that is a priority for streaming platforms, particularly ones that are not making money yet because they don't have enough of a subscription base, which is the very reason why I'm convinced, a Peacock, for example, or any other streaming platform is so interested in WWE, because in general, professional wrestling, sports entertainment version of professional wrestling fans are some of the most loyal fans you're going to find. So if you know that, which everybody in the television industry does, because they've done their research, and there's been extensive research done across the boards by different research groups, focus groups. You know that not only is professional wrestling sports entertainment a major draw and a great choice for customer acquisition because it is so effective, because the audience is so loyal, but then you have a major event, almost, to your point, as significant to the consumer, to the fan, as potentially a WrestleMania, because of all the value that John Cena has built for his brand within WWE. It's a perfect combination for a massive amount of new customers that perhaps a platform didn't have before. So it's not only a sales pitch, it's a tactical way to go about building as much of a subscription base as you can with your investment.
Well, it's clear that John Cena has transcended, and he's one of the biggest names in the game now, not just in professional wrestling, but in pop culture, just in Americana. I don't feel like I can turn on the TV and watch live television and not hear John Cena voice over a commercial. So I'm happy that he's getting to go out on his terms. We're going to be talking about that today. We'll also be talking about what his highest and best use may be. We've just heard that he just signed a new 5-year deal with the WWE. What do you do with a fellow like that? We'll talk to Eric about that as well. Hey, Eric, you've got some history with John Cena yourself. We haven't really talked about this much, but if memory serves, didn't my man throw you in the back of a garbage truck once?
Yeah, he did. I don't know. It's one of the prouder moments of my career. I know that sounds weird, right? Why would that be a proud moment for you? But it's like, when I got to WWE, I went to WWE. I had to kind of mentally prepare myself, because I knew that, I was in for a transition. I went from the guy running the company that could pretty much do what I felt was right when I felt it was right. I didn't really have to get approval from anybody. And that was pretty comfortable for me. I got used to that. And then to go into an environment where I knew I was just talent, and I had to really focus for myself on going into every television show. When I get on a plane and leave Phoenix or leave Los Angeles or wherever I was at the time to fly to a Monday Night Raw, I spent a good 12 hours talking to myself, reminding myself, here's what I'm here to do. I'm here to take whatever they give me and make it as good as I possibly can. I'm not here to tell them whether or not I think it's a good idea. And I know that sounds simple, but when you're someone like me who's a little driven and I'm capable of getting pretty passionate about things, at that point, when I get to that level, I get pushy. I want to make sure my opinions are heard and all that. And I had to remind myself not to allow myself to get into that frame of mind, because it would go downhill fast. It would quit being fun. That's what I mean. And it worked for me. There was only 2 times that I ever took anything I was given, and I'd usually get it the night before. But there was never a time when I took my narrative, whatever was written for me, and said, well, what if we do it a little different? It just never happened. 2 times, though. The first time was I got a script about doing a Kiss My Ass segment with Vince. I threw a flag on that one. Nobody ever brought it up again. They changed the script. They took it out, disappeared. Never another word was mentioned about it. I thought, well, that went nice. And the only other time is when John Cena threw me in the garbage truck. Or what he did is he hit me with this finish. What's it called? What was this finish called?
The FU.
The FU, yeah. I thought I was going to say F5, but then I had Brock Lesnar breathing down my back. The FU. Originally, it was John that was supposed to throw me in the garbage truck. And when I got the script, I said, I don't think that's what the audience really wants to see. Let's pay off the Eric versus Vince story. I mean, you bought the company. What's left? Throw that other guy in the garbage. That's the end of the story. And we have a chance to tell that story for those who will, recognize it and, put 2 and 2 together. They'll get a big kick out of it. The rest of the audience who doesn't do the math and doesn't really know why, at least I was thinking that's the way to do it, they're going to enjoy it anyway. It's not like they won't understand it. So I threw a flag on that one and just laid it out and said, Vince, you need to throw me in the garbage truck, not John. I don't have any heat with John. John's going to hit me with his finish. Boom. John gets what John wants. And John's fans get what they want for John. And then we got the other side of the coin. Now Vince gets his shot, and that kind of completes a story for some people, and otherwise just provides a kind of makes sense finish to the whole scene. And same thing, not a word, just changed it, and it wasn't that big of a change, and it made sense. So it didn't have to really require a team effort. But that was the only other time, and I'm proud of that because I think it made it better. Whether I ended up in the garbage truck or Vince didn't matter to me. What mattered to me is that it made sense and it got the reaction we wanted to get. And it did. So I'm proud of that.
Any chance you remember when that happened?
What do you mean when?
It was 20 years. It was 20 years ago last week.
Really?
December 5th, 2005 was your final Raw as a GM. And that's when John Cena dumped you in the garbage truck. I had to flip a coin. Are we going to talk about that last week, or we're going to talk about it this week? I thought, hey, you know what? Since John Cena brought you to the end of your WWE run, and now we're talking about his end of his WWE run, I thought, hey, we'll save it for this week. But I just think it's kind of,
wow,
I don't know, ironic that it was 20 years and 1 week later, and John Cena's wrapping it up too. Time flies, doesn't it?
Time flies, but the timing is unique too. You look at that was really the end of my, WWE run, so to speak. Clearly, still went back and forth for little tiny appearances and cameos and stuff like that. But that was pretty much it as far as weekly television for me. But that happened the same time John's ending his career, and he was really he was in the early stages of his career when I first started working with him in 2002, I think. He was still pretty new in his career. Wow, it's just fascinating. Yeah, time does fly, man. Time is a real head trip. If you think about it too much, it gets trippy.